This summer, a very good old friend and their husband came to visit us in Stockholm. The reason was they were on a cruise ship that made a stop in Stockholm. And based on that, I got a little bit inspired to make these videos on how the wastewater and food waste is handling on cruise ships. So let's start with how a system can look and how does it compare with a land-based wastewater handling. In order to compare the cruise ship's waste handling with the land-based waste handling, I have chosen a cruise ship that takes aboard 1,000 passengers, and the surface area of that ship is about 6,670 square meter. And that would give us a person to square meter surface cruise ship of 0.15. So let's see how this compares to a land-based waste handling. In order to compare the number of persons in regard to possible space to build a wastewater handling facility, I have used the town of Järpen up north in Sweden. And Järpen has a population about 1,600 persons or inhabitants, and it occupies 2.3 million square meters, which gives you a person to surface ratio of 0.007. And of course, there is an extreme difference in space to build a treatment facility on the mainland compared to a cruise ship that has to handle the waste along with all the other function needed for the cruise itself. Now, for a wastewater treatment plant on the mainland, not including the handling of food waste or organic waste, that's important to note when we now look at this slide. In the wastewater treatment plant, which is a conventional activated sludge plant, where you have the inlet chamber, the screens, you have pre-sedimentation, you have the biological treatment, and also the sludge handling, basically the activated sludge that you thicken and centrifuge or handle to somehow reduce the water content of the sludge. For that type of wastewater treatment plant, for 1,000 to maybe 2,000 persons, you need an area of about 1,500 square meters, including the building, the tanks, the process unit, access road, so forth and so on. So 1,500 square meter isn't that much if you're on the mainland, but take this into account in regard to the size we have at the cruise ship. Here on the picture to the left, you have the area of the town of Järpen, and I have a little bit sketchy put in the cruise ships here in the yellow rectangle. And of course, the surface area in comparison for building treatment facility, as I said before, is quite notable. And on the cruise ship, you need to work with this. You need to have place for the cabins to comply with maritime rules, fuel tank, cargo bay, service shops, sewage handling, producing drinking water. So it's quite an engineering challenge to solve this on a cruise ship, which need to take into account so many types of function. And also, let's go to the next slide. Here to the left, you see a principle drawing just of, how should I say, the support system for the ship. You have the vacuum collection that is getting the waste from the different part of the ship. You have the wastewater treatment. You have dry and wet wastewater treatment, freshwater generation, system automation. So These are just the basic function of the waste handling. And now to the right side, you have a principle drawing, or here simplified illustration of all the process steps that are involved in treating and handling wastewater and food waste. And just let's look at some words here. You have gray water, that is from shower and washing your hands. You have black water, that's the urine and fecals produced. You have food waste, that is going into this waste handling system. And also you can see here, if we look at something called biological wastewater treatment, which now is comparing to the town's wastewater treatment plant. But you also have the handling of the food waste. But in the next video, I will go through the wastewater treatment handling and also look at the food waste handling, how this is done in the ship. But that will be for the next video. See you there. Take good care. Bye bye.